This week I want to start off with some verses from God's Word. Now Jericho was shut up inside and outside because of the people of Israel. None went out and none came in. And the Lord said to Joshua, See, I have given Jericho into your hands, with its kingdoms and mighty men of valor. You shall march around the city, all the men of war, going around the city once. Thus shall you do for 6 days. 7 priests shall bear trumpets of ram's horns before the ark. On the 7th day you shall march around the city 7 times, and the priests shall blow the trumpet. And when they make a long blast with the ram's horn, when you near the sound of the trumpet, then all the people should shout with a great shout, and the walls of the city will fall down flat, and the people shall go up, everything straight before them. So Joshua the son of Nun called the priests, and said to them, Take the ark of the covenant, and let 7 priests bear 7 trumpets of ram's horns before the ark of the Lord. And he said to the people, Go forth, march around the city, and let the armed men pass on before the ark of the Lord. And just as Joshua had commanded the people, the 7 priests bearing the 7 trumpets of ram's horn before the Lord went forth, blowing the trumpets, with the ark of the covenant of the Lord following them. The armed men were walking before the priests who were blowing the trumpet, and rear guard was walking after the ark, while the trumpet blew continually. But Joshua commanded the people, You shall not shout or make your voice heard, neither shall any word go out of your mouth until the day I tell you to shout. Then you shall shout. So he caused the ark of the Lord to circle the city, going about it once, and they came into camp and spent the night in the camp. Then Joshua rose early in the morning, and the priests took up the ark of the Lord, and the 7 priests bearing the 7 trumpets of ram before the ark of the Lord walked on, and they blew the trumpets continually, and the armed men were walking before them, and the rear guard was walking after the ark of the Lord, while the trumpet blew continually. On the 2nd day they marched around the city once and returned into the camp. So they did for 6 days. On the 7th day they rose early at the dawn of the day, and marched around the city in the same manner 7 times. It was only on that day that they marched around the city 7 times. And at the 7th time, when the priest had blown the trumpets, Joshua said to the people, Shout, for the Lord has given you the city, and the city and all that is within it shall be devoted to the Lord for destruction. Only Rahab the prostitute and all who are in her household shall live, because she hid the messengers whom we sent. But you will keep yourselves from the things devoted to destruction, lest you have devoted them. You take any of the devoted things and make them in the camp of Israel a thing for destruction, and bring trouble upon it. But all silver and gold, and every vessel, bronze and iron, are holy to the Lord. They shall go into the treasury of the Lord. So the people shouted, and the trumpets were blown. As soon as the people heard the sound of the trumpets, the people shouted a great shout, and the walls fell down flat, so that the people went up into the city, every man straight before him, and they captured the city. Joshua 6:1-20. Sometimes God asks us to do things differently to show the world that we are different because of who He is to us and what He has called us for. Let me tell you, sometimes God's way may not make sense to us, How is Jericho, the stronghold standing in their way, supposed to fall by being marched around 13 times and then shouting? Sometimes we do not understand how God works, but I can tell you Jericho's fall cannot be attributed to anyone but God. So many times in the Bible and in our lives, God is teaching us not to take the credit. He is only one who can inspire a shepherd boy to take on a giant 4 times his height, cause a city to fall for no logical reason, and have the answer of salvation for all mankind come through a man who was God's Son in the flesh. See, when God does something, he does it in such a way that he is the only one that could have done it. That defiles all human logic and for his glory. What do you think would be going through your mind if your new leader asked you to walk around the city 13 times and the city was heavily fortified and the first one you were asked to conquer? Notice that when Joshua told them to walk around the city, he does not give them a reason. He does not tell them what God has said. He does not tell him how long they will have to do it. I think that the people of Israel were probably used to that. It seemed to be the answer for every problem they had. They walked across the Red Sea, walked across the Jordan, walked to the Promised Land from Egypt, and now walked around Jericho. They probably expected a battle that looked more like combat, but what they got was a battle that looked more like what they had been doing their entire lives, walking in the heat of the Middle East. See, God does not ask you to do something that he has not already equipped you to do. When he asks you to fight a battle or do what he calls you to do, he has been equipping you for years or maybe your whole life. You can see God moving all throughout this story, causing the walls to fall, giving Joshua strength to lead, and giving the people of Israel obedience to follow. When you look back over your life, do you see God moving? We often do not see all God is doing until we look back and see how he was moving in our lives. I pray that just like the Israelites, we will see mighty works of God in our lives that there is no logical explanation for, things that can only be God. Sometimes here in the modern world, we think that it is harder for God to move, but by thinking that way, we put a limit on seeing God's power. Limiting how we see God is never a good idea. I believe that God still moves like he did in the days of the apostles and Israelites. God never changes. His love and power are constant. He is not dependent on how the world looks or what year it is. He still moves. We are just too caught up in things of this world to see it. I believe that I have missed miracles that have happened right in front of me because I was more focused on things of this world and not on things of God. What if Joshua would have been focused on things of this world and not on things of God, and attacked the city of Jericho without God's help? It would have been a landslide defeat for the people of Israel. So this week I want to encourage you that yes, we are called to this world, but we are also called to be people of God. So we need to pray that God would allow us to be attuned to things of him. There are so many great ways to focus on things of him and not on things of this world. One great way would be to be in God's Word today.